Unexpectedly, in the place known as the Primeval Wilds, several of Xiao Yan's beloved met at the same time, making for a truly lively scene. Picking up from the last episode, Xiao Yan transformed into a massive golden figure, landing a resounding punch right in front of the demonic flower evil lord. His enormous fist swung with a speed akin to lightning, slamming into the body of the demonic flower evil lord with a terrifying force. In a low, muffled boom, the demonic flower evil lord, whose face was a mask of horror, was pounded into a pulp by a single punch. Lu Tsang gazed darkly at the golden giant standing before Yuewen and said in a deep voice, "May I ask who you are, esteemed sir? This is a matter between the Heavenly Abyss sect and the Flower sect. Are you truly intending to intervene?" While speaking, the Douqi within Lu Tsang quietly began to circulate. This individual was clearly not of good intentions, and one must be cautious. In response to Lu Tsang's voice, the tall golden figure merely let out a cold sneer, not deigning to reply even half a word. With a vicious kick to the corpse of the demonic flower evil lord in front of him, the terrifying force sent the latter hurtling towards Lu Tsang like a projectile. Seeing Xiao Yan's actions, Lu Tsang's expression turned completely gloomy. With a grab forward from his palm, the corpse of the demonic flower evil lord burst with a bang into clouds of blood mist that sprayed outward. Lu Tsang stomped his foot on the ground, and with a flicker of a ghostly figure, he appeared above the golden giant's head. His fist clenched fiercely as he roared menacingly, "Today, I will see exactly who you are, and how dare you meddle in the affairs of my Heavenly Abyss sect." As Lu Tsang's words fell, his Douqi surged out like a torrential rain, swiftly condensing into a massive black dragon. The dragon seemed substantial, carrying an extremely terrifying momentum, and with a roar, it brought forth a dreadful gale, tearing through space and fiercely slamming towards the golden giant. In the face of Lu Tsang's ferocious attack, the golden giant slowly raised its head, revealing a pair of indifferent golden eyes. Its golden fists, as if cast from gold, clenched suddenly and then delivered a straightforward punch. With a punch, the space in front of it suddenly shattered, revealing dark spatial cracks. The golden, light-radiating fist collided heavily with the black dragon. The terrifying force, at the moment of contact, poured out like a flood. With a mournful cry, the black dragon was dispersed, and the remaining momentum pierced through space, slamming heavily towards Lu Tsang, whose face changed slightly. Feeling the dreadful force approaching, Lu Tsang retreated hastily, but the force was too terrifying. Before it even arrived, a low explosion detonated on Lu Tsang's body. The sudden explosion sent Lu Tsang flying backward, and he landed heavily on a massive boulder dozens of feet in size. The terrifying residual force instantly covered the boulder with a dense network of cracks, and then, with a low sound, it turned into a pile of stone powder. Seeing Lu Tsang unable to withstand even a single punch from the mysterious golden figure, the surrounding Heavenly Abyss sect's strong members' eyes showed a flash of horror. They knew Lu Tsang's strength very well. Although there was some water in his rise to the position of deputy sect leader of the Heavenly Abyss sect, he indeed possessed the strength at the peak of Dozun. Looking around, he was the strongest here, but they could not imagine that Lu Tsang, with strength at the peak of Dozun, could not even last a single move against the golden giant. The strong members of the Heavenly Abyss sect's eyes flickered rapidly. Who exactly is this person? It's so terrifying. The ability to knock away Lu Tsang, who has the strength of the peak of Dozun with a single punch, indicates that this person's strength must have reached at least the second or third turn of the peak of Dozun. At this moment, Lu Tsang was also struggling to climb up from the stone powder, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, and roaring angrily, "Damn it! Elder Qiao, and everyone else, all come with me." Hearing his roar, the first to act was an old man in a black robe, who looked like a bamboo pole. His face slightly changed, but then he could only grit his teeth, his face cold, and nodded. "There are so many people here. If they all act together, even if this person has the strength of the peak of the third turn of Dozun, he cannot gain any advantage." Under Lu Tsang's roar, The other strong members of the Heavenly Abyss sect could only hurriedly suppress the fear in their hearts. The Do Qi in each person surged out at the same time, and then a powerful Do skill attack tore through space and shot out fiercely. Nearly a dozen Do Zun strong people acted at the same time, and the momentum was quite terrifying. This space seemed to tremble because of it. Seeing Lu Tsang and others acting at the same time, Yuewen's face also changed, and she quickly said, "Be careful." Facing the joint efforts of Lu Tsang and others, the golden giant snorted coldly, not retreating but advancing, taking steps that made the earth tremble, and the dazzling golden light surged out of his body, looking from a distance, like a Buddha angry Vajra. Without using any Do skills, every part of the golden giant's body contains an unbreakable terrifying force. A punch passed, and the space cracked in an instant, and the dark cracks continued to spread. Where the golden giant's fist passed, it exploded almost instantly, and the terrible fierce wind penetrated through space and finally poured all over the bodies of those strong members of the Heavenly Abyss sect. Such a terrifying force almost instantly, except for Lu Tsang and the old man in the bamboo pole black robe. All the others almost all vomited a mouthful of blood, and their bodies, like flying shells, wiped the ground and flew out nearly 100 feet. Seeing those who were all shaken and fainted by the Heavenly Abyss sect strong members, a touch of horror finally surged on Lu Tsang's face. So many people joined hands, but they didn't cause any harm to the golden monster? Seeing the indifferent golden pupils that suddenly shifted towards himself, Lu Tsang's heart suddenly cooled, and he hurriedly said, "Who are you? Let's talk it out." Ignoring Lu Tsang's words, the golden giant took huge steps and walked directly towards the former, and the huge shadow shrouded down, just like the arrival of the Grim Reaper. Feeling the golden giant's killing intent towards himself, Lu Tsang also understood that the other party would not let him go, and he immediately made a decision. Stomping his foot on the ground fiercely, his figure was as fast as lightning, rushing towards the back. "Damn it, when I find out your background, I will make you unable to live." In the crazy escape, Lu Tsang's eyes also flickered with ferocity. Since becoming the deputy leader of the Heavenly Abyss sect, he has enjoyed the awe and respect wherever he goes. How could there be such a time as today? However, just as Lu Tsang's heart was full of resentment, the light in the sky suddenly dimmed, and the dazzling golden light flickered at the corner of his eye, making his scalp suddenly explode. He suddenly looked up and saw that the huge golden giant had already appeared behind him. How could his speed be so fast? Seeing the golden giant that appeared behind him, Lu Tsang's heart also flashed an unbelievable meaning. But this thought just rose, and before he could scream, the golden giant's iron fist, with extremely terrifying power, slammed heavily on his back. The Do Qi defense around Lu Tsang's body hardly played any role at this time. The terrible power poured into his body like a tide, almost instantly shaking his internal organs and even bones into powder. A mouthful of blood mixed with broken internal organs spewed out from Lu Tsang's mouth, and his face still had the ferocity and resentment before. However, in that pair of eyes, the vitality quickly disappeared. He couldn't figure it out until he died. He was just chasing Yuewen and others. Why this mysterious golden giant, as soon as he appeared, would carry out such crazy killing against them? A punch killed all the vitality of Lu Tsang, and the golden giant also fell to the ground in the shocked eyes of Yuewen and the elders of the flower sect. And then the indifferent golden pupils looked towards the northern sky, the direction where the bamboo pole-like black-robed person had fled before. When the golden giant looked at that sky, there was suddenly a burst of wind-breaking sound there, and then a dark shadow shot over and was heavily smashed on the ground, which was the elder of the Heavenly Abyss sect who had fled before. After this dark shadow appeared, there were several more figures flashing, and finally appeared in this open space. Yuewen looked at the group of people who appeared, and her eyes suddenly solidified on a woman with a very cold and enchanting appearance. Her face showed a look of shock, and she couldn't believe. She exclaimed, "You are Queen Medusa?" Kailin said, "The head of the Yunlan sect, Yuewen?" When Kailin saw Yuewen, she suddenly understood why Xiao Yan rushed over when he heard that the flower sect was in trouble. It turned out that Yuewen was here. Seeing Kailin's actions, Yuewen was slightly stunned, as if she had thought of something and looked at the golden giant in shock. When she heard Yuewen's voice, Na Lanyanran was also shocked and couldn't believe that the person who wiped out the Heavenly Abyss sect team with his own strength was Xiao Yan. Under the gaze of the crowd, the golden giant's body quickly shrank and soon turned into that familiar figure. Xiao Yan said, "Hee, are you all okay?" Looking at the familiar and cordial face, Yuewen paused for a moment, then regained her senses and said bitterly, "I didn't expect it to be you. Why are you here?" Xiao Yan smiled and replied, "We just came to the primeval wilds and met the people of the Heavenly Abyss sect, and then I felt you." Hearing this, Yuewen nodded and then fixed her eyes on Kailin and said, "I didn't expect to see you again here." Once upon a time in the Jiama Empire, Yuewen was invited by Gu He to compete for the treasure in Kailin's hands, and later Kailin also appeared in the Yunlan sect because of Xiao Yan. In general, their encounter was not very pleasant, and the relationship was more complicated. Obviously, they didn't expect to meet again in such a place. Kailin responded lightly, but she, who was cold by nature, didn't say much more and didn't mean to talk deeply with Yuewen. Seeing her like this, Yuewen, who was also a bit arrogant, naturally wouldn't take the initiative to please, so she also fell silent. Seeing the atmosphere between the two, Xiao Yan felt a bit embarrassed and turned his head to look at Xiao Xian for help. Unexpectedly, Xiao Xian just glanced at him and turned his head away. "Thank you for your help this time." The elder of the flower sect came forward to express his gratitude to Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan said, "Elder is polite. The Falling Star Pavilion and the flower sect have always been friendly, and I also have an old relationship with Yuewen. It is reasonable to help. But I don't know how long have the elders entered the ancient wild domain?" Xiao Yan continued to ask. "It has been about 5 days, but we don't have an exact route, so the progress is slow," Yuewen suddenly said. Xiao Yan smiled bitterly and shook his head, saying, "Then does the elder know how the other forces are now? They should be close to the ancient domain terrace in the ancient wild domain, which is a place left over from ancient times. Generally, fierce beasts will not approach there, so it is considered a safe area in the ancient wild domain." Yuewen, who was on the side, suddenly said, "But we are still about 2 days away from there." Ancient domain terrace? Xiao Yan pondered and understood in his heart that he must rely on the strength of others to successfully obtain the treasure. He then said in a low voice, "Then let's go together, and the overall strength of both parties will be stronger, and we can help each other when we encounter trouble." Hearing this, Yuewen hesitated for a while. She was a bit uncomfortable with the atmosphere at Xiao Yan's place, but after seeing several wounded people on her side, she finally nodded in agreement. "We have been going east before, although the main road to the west is closer, but it is occupied by an ancient sky demon python with strength comparable to the peak of the 5-star Do Zun. If you want to pass through, you will definitely disturb it," Yuewen said. When he heard about the ancient sky demon python, Xiao Yan was slightly surprised. This rare mutant fierce beast is more fierce than the 9 netherworld earth underworld python. Then he suddenly remembered that its blood has the effect of enhancing the physique, which is exactly what he needs at the moment. "I've decided to go there. The ancient demon is very helpful to me. Everyone rest for a while and set off in half an hour." Xiao Yan looked at Yuewen and said in a deep voice. Hearing this, everyone nodded in agreement, and then they each found a place to sit cross-legged. Half an hour later, Xiao Yan opened his eyes, saw that the situation of the people in the flower sect had improved, and stood up, about to speak when he suddenly felt something different. After a while, he quickly signaled to everyone, "Lower your breath." Not long after Xiao Yan and others hid, there was a burst of wind-breaking sound in the sky, and then a group of people swept across the sky like lightning. Xiao Yan frowned tightly, staring at the light and shadow in the sky. He clearly saw that at the head of the large group of people, there was a woman in a colorful dress, and this woman gave Xiao Yan a familiar feeling. It's Fen Qing'er from the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan. The ancient sky demon python had gone to great lengths to get the blood pool, but in the end, it was a bargain for Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan's thoughts turned, and suddenly a trace of shock flashed in his eyes. He remembered that Fen Qing'er, whom he had seen in the Do Sheng relic before, was just a person with the strength of a Do Zong. But now her strength gives him the feeling that it has exceeded the general strength of the peak of Dozun, and there is a faint pressure on Feng Qing'er, similar to the ancient heavenly phoenix pressure he felt on Xiyan before. The ancient heavenly phoenix has long disappeared. Why does this pressure appear again on Feng Qing'er? This woman must have also obtained a great opportunity, leading to a surge in strength. It seems that I can't delay any longer. I must go to the ancient demon as soon as possible, and use its blood pool energy to cultivate the diamond-glazed body to the peak, and break through to the 9-star Dozun level. Xiao Yan clenched his fist. These opponents with a surge in strength made him feel a sense of pressure. This is a huge peak surrounded by black fog, not far from this huge peak. Yuewen said softly, "The ancient sky demon python is here." Hearing this, Xiao Yan nodded and said in a deep voice, "Get ready to start." As soon as the words fell, his figure immediately turned into a black shadow, rushing towards the black huge peak. Kailin, Qinglin, Xiao Yan and others followed closely. As soon as they rushed into the black fog, a shrill snake cry suddenly came from the huge peak. Then the whole mountain trembled, and a huge black snake tail rushed out like lightning, slapping fiercely towards Xiao Yan and others. Facing the ancient sky demon python's keen perception, Xiao Yan snorted coldly. His body quickly turned into a golden giant, and then a huge fist slammed out, colliding head-on with the black snake tail. When the two collided, the black snake tail was shaken back, and there was also a earth-shattering roar from the mountain. I saw a black python hundreds of feet high rushing out of the mountain, staring at Xiao Yan and others with murderous intent. Facing the huge object hovering in the sky, Xiao Yan immediately said in a deep voice, "Start." This guy is at least the strength of the peak of the 5 turns of Dozun. If you don't use the Buddha's angry fire lotus, you need everyone to join hands. When he heard Xiao Yan shout, Kailin nodded, then leaped up and turned into a 7-colored swallowing sky python in the clouds, with an invisible pressure spreading, which slightly weakened the fierce power of the sky demon python. After all, in terms of blood purity, it is not as good as swallowing the sky, but the sky demon python is always a fierce thing. So even though it felt some pressure, its murderous intent was not hindered at all. Kailin, who turned into a swallowing sky python in the sky, attracted a huge, colorful thunder, which bombarded the sky demon python continuously. Faced with Kailin's attack, the sky demon python opened its fierce big mouth and sprayed out a black light column full of foul smell, and finally caught all those colorful thunder. When the sky demon python launched an attack, Xiao Yan, who turned into a golden light giant, also rushed forward swiftly, and his huge fist slammed heavily on the body of the sky demon. When Xiao Yan made a move, the elders of Qingqing, Yuewen, and Xiao Yan and others almost launched an attack at the same time, and the terrible Do Qi finally covered the whole body of the sky demon. "Let it look at my eyes." Qinglin's voice suddenly came into Xiao Yan's ears. Hearing this, Xiao Yan took a deep breath, and he forcibly twisted the body of the sky demon python to make a turn. Facing Xiao Yan's continuous tearing, the sky demon python was also furious. However, when it was about to go completely crazy, a green and strange eye pupil about half a foot in size suddenly appeared in its field of vision, with 3 green flowers rotating at high speed, exuding a strange magic power, gradually reducing the murderous intent and violence in the eyes of the sky demon python. Seeing this, Xiao Yan breathed a sigh of relief. Qinglin's azure serpent triflower pupil has a strong control over snake demons, but he is not sure whether Qinglin's current strength can control this ancient sky demon python. However, just as Xiao Yan had this thought, the sky demon python, which was gradually weakening in its murderous intent, suddenly trembled, as if it had noticed Qinglin's intention, and immediately began to resist frantically. This guy is really not easy to deal with. Faced with the fact that the ancient sky demon could resist the azure serpent triflower pupil with its own strength, Xiao Yan was surprised in his heart, and then he said coldly, "Suppress it." With his shout falling, the 7-colored swallowing sky python turned by Kailin coiled up, and the invisible pressure surged out. At the same time, Xiao Yan and others also waved huge doqi ropes, firmly binding it. Hearing this, Qinglin took a deep breath, Then his hands quickly made a complex and mysterious mark, and a snake-shaped illusion about 1,000 feet in size gradually formed behind him, and it had 9 identical snake heads, which was the 9-headed heavenly serpent that Xiao Yan had seen before. At the moment when the illusion of the 9-headed heavenly serpent appeared, the body of the ancient sky demon, which was struggling crazily, also trembled, and a very strong color of fear finally appeared in its eyes. The azure serpent triflower pupil demon eye opened, and the strange pupil slowly rotated. Then a green light the size of a thumb suddenly shot out, and finally imprinted on the head of the sky demon python in a flash, and a green flower the size of a palm appeared. When this flower appeared, the cruelty and violence in the eyes of the ancient sky demon quickly dissipated, replaced by a docile and empty feeling. Fortunately, I had consumed a lot of its strength before, coupled with the soul suppression of Sister Kai Lin. Otherwise, it would be really difficult to tame this guy. Qing Lin said with a smile. That's good. Let's go and find the sky demon blood pool quickly. Hearing this, Xiao Yan breathed a sigh of relief. Then his gaze turned to the huge mountain shrouded in black fog. The nest of the sky demon python is located in the center of the mountain peak, which is cold and damp inside and filled with white bones. A group of people frowned and passed through these small mountains of white bones, and finally stopped in front of a piece of red stone ground, in the center of which there was a pool about 10 feet wide, filled with red blood. Is this the sky demon blood pool? Xiao Yan asked. It should be this thing. Xiao Yan nodded slightly. He could feel the extremely rich energy in the blood pool. It seems that the ancient sky demon has put a lot of thought into this blood pool. I may have to stay here for 2 or 3 days, and during this time, Qing Lin, you will summon the ancient sky demon python. Hearing this, Qing Lin nodded. Will there be a problem? Kai Lin looked at the blood pool with a frown and asked. Xiao Yan said, Hee, don't worry. In that case, be careful. If there is a change, send a signal. Kai Lin saw Xiao Yan's insistence and didn't say much more. After a reminder, he took people and slowly retreated. Watching everyone gradually leave, Xiao Yan turned around and looked at the blood pool in front of him with a heavy face. Then he stepped on the tip of his foot, and his body fell into the blood pool with a splash. Suddenly, a cold drink on the stone platform also attracted some surprised eyes. This is not a place where you can come up, get out. Also, because of Feng Qing'er's voice, one of the girls in a green dress who was closing her eyes and resting at the moment opened her eyes. And when she saw the thin young man stepping onto the stone platform, she was immediately busy, and then some joy surged in her eyes, calling out, Brother Xiao Yan. Hee, it seems that Xiao Yan is in trouble this time. I didn't expect that he still has a grudge with the heavenly demon Phoenix clan. A man in a silver robe said with a smile. This person's face is not unfamiliar. It is Gu Hua who entered the heavenly tomb with Xiao Yan at the beginning. Hearing this, Suner's eyebrows slightly wrinkled. Then her gaze turned to the woman in the colorful dress and said softly, The heavenly demon Phoenix clan is too much. Beside her, Gu Qingyang said with a light smile, Don't rush to make a move, Xiao Yan can solve it. Hearing this, Suner nodded slightly. Her eyes suddenly turned to Xiao Yan's back, and finally stopped on Kai Lin, and some inexplicable fluctuations surged in her eyes. And the original discussion on the stone platform became much quieter, and many eyes were focused on Xiao Yan. Ignore that noisy woman. Under the gaze of so many people, Xiao Yan smiled slightly, did not even turn his head to Feng Qing'er, just casually said to the people behind him, and then continued to walk towards the stone platform. Hearing Xiao Yan say this, Feng Qing'er's face suddenly surged with a touch of iron green, and then an ancient and vicissitudes breath surged from her body, and faintly there was a phoenix cry from it. Feng Qing'er said, Xiao Yan, today I want you to pay the price for the pain I have suffered. It turned out that when Feng Qing'er and the others returned to their clan, they were punished, and the reason was that Xiao Yan and others had robbed the dragon phoenix origin fruit. Fortunately, they brought back the bones of the heavenly phoenix from the ancient forest, and there were still some heavenly phoenix essence blood in it. In order to get this pure essence blood, the strong men of the heavenly demon phoenix clan chose to transplant the bones directly into the bodies of the clan members, one of which was Feng Qing'er, but in this way, the transplantation process would inevitably suffer endless pain. When I saw Feng Qing'er say to do it, The eyes of Kai Lin and others behind Xiao Yan also became cold, and the dou qi in their bodies surged out. A man in a white robe said, "Xiao Yan, since Fen Qing'er wants to compete with you, you should go up by yourself, and others should not make a move, otherwise you will suffer." Just as Kai Lin and others were surging with dou qi, a faint voice came from behind Fen Qing'er. A man in a white robe appeared there. The strangest thing was that this man's eyes were a rare color, which looked very weird. After hearing the colored-eyed man's words, Fen Qing'er nodded, and then shouted coldly, "Xiao Yan, dare you stand out?" "As you wish." With the words falling, Xiao Yan walked out slowly. Although he doesn't know why Fen Qing'er's strength has surged, it doesn't matter to Xiao Yan at all. Seeing Xiao Yan really come out, Fen Qing'er's face was also iron green. She didn't expect her strength to surge, and it was no threat to Xiao Yan, which was simply unbearable for her arrogant self. "Heavenly Phoenix Shadow!" Fen Qing'er shouted angrily, and dou qi surged out of her body quickly, forming a huge, heavenly phoenix illusion in the sky. Exuding an ancient pressure, "Xiao Yan, prepare to die." In response to Fen Qing'er's attack, Xiao Yan just shook his head slightly. He did not choose to dodge, but took a slow step. At the same time, his dark eyes flickered with golden light, and the golden light suddenly burst out on the square. Then there was a loud bang, and a golden light shot out at an extremely fast speed. At first, this golden light was very huge, but in just an instant, it turned into a thin figure and finally, in the stunned gaze of the crowd, it mysteriously appeared in front of Fen Qing'er. When I saw Xiao Yan, who was not even broken, appear in front of me, Fen Qing'er's face showed a look of horror. However, before she could launch another attack, a palm quickly enlarged in her eyes, and then a crisp sound of applause rang out on the stone platform, and then everyone saw Fen Qing'er's body flying out, and finally slid on the ground for hundreds of meters and slowly stopped. Looking closely, her originally delicate face is now covered with a blood-red palm print, with blood still hanging at the corner of her mouth, and her cheeks still retain an unbelievable look. She was actually knocked out by a slap from Xiao Yan. And seeing this scene, the onlookers took a breath of cold air. Damn it! A group of people from the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan, including the colored pupil man, were all stunned by this scene. When they came back to their senses, they immediately got angry and stood up, ready to make a move. As they were about to make a move, the colored pupil man suddenly said, "Stop! Fen Qing'er is not as good as others. Help her back?" Then he looked at Xiao Yan and said slowly, "Good strength. If you want to test the water, do it yourself. It's a bit too much to let a woman come forward." Xiao Yan glanced at the former and said. The colored pupil man said, "Hee, I've learned. Next time I will do it myself." Xiao Yan turned around and took Kai Lin and others towards the direction of the ancient clan. "Brother Xiao Yan, you are really late this time," Sooner said with a smile, and then her beautiful eyes suddenly swept to the back of Xiao Yan. "This is Sister Kai Lin. I often hear Brother Xiao Yan mention you." When she heard Sooner's words, Kai Lin was slightly stunned. She had heard Xiao Ding mention Sooner when she was in the Jiama Empire, Xiao Yan's childhood sweetheart. If it weren't for that incident, she would probably be Xiao Yan's wife. And she also understood that Sooner occupies an important position in Xiao Yan's heart. In a sense, she is a bit like a third party, which makes Kai Lin a bit uncomfortable. However, out of politeness, she still nodded gently. As for the conversation between the two women, Xiao Yan felt a bit embarrassed but didn't say anything. He just coughed dryly and took everyone to sit down. The group of people following Xiao Yan were mostly women, except for those elders of the flower sect, all of whom had a proud appearance. So at this time, Gu Qingyang and others found that the atmosphere here was a bit strange. Coupled with what Sooner said before, they also realized some things. Although Gu Qingyang and others have some friendship with Xiao Yan, they are still uncomfortable in their hearts. Sooner's status in the ancient clan is very high, almost a goddess in the hearts of countless people in the clan. But now Xiao Yan has successfully won Sooner's heart, and now he wants to enjoy the beauty of all people, which is a bit too good. Although they think so in their hearts, they naturally won't be silly to say it. When everyone felt embarrassed, Sooner was very calm and politely greeted everyone behind Xiao Yan one by one. However, when her gaze met with Na Lan Yanran, she paused slightly. The last time the two met was when Nalan Yinran came to break the engagement. At that time, she was arrogant, and although she didn't show it on the outside, she felt complicated about Suner's gaze. Because she remembered a word Suner said to her while sitting by the window that year, "Miss Nalan, I hope you won't regret today's behavior." Although more than 10 years have passed, Nalan Yinran still remembers that in different voice. And what makes her feel the most gloomy is that this sentence has come true more than 10 years later. She did regret it, but it was of no use. Suner asked, "Brother Xiao Yan came to the ancient wild domain for the Bodhi ancient tree, right?" Hearing Suner's words, Xiao Yan nodded. For Suner, Xiao Yan also felt a bit apologetic in his heart, and the more Suner performed like this, the more he didn't care, the stronger his apology became. Suner just didn't want this kind of thing to make a fuss and make him distressed. "Go in from here. You can enter the depths of the ancient wild domain, and the Bodhi ancient tree is there." Suner pointed to the north of the ancient domain platform and said softly, "But it is very difficult to get to the Bodhi ancient tree, because there is a fierce beast army stationed 100 miles away from here. They are all around the depths, and if we want to go in, we have to break through that sea of beasts. But we have tried these days, but in the end, we were stopped. The fierce beast army is not only terrifying in number, but also powerful and not easy to deal with." Hearing this, Xiao Yan finally understood why the people here all had a strong smell of blood. It turned out to be the fierce beast army. "Yes, now we all need to join hands, otherwise no one can get through." Suner frowned slightly and said, "The temporary alliance was proposed by that person. He is a person from the Soul Hall, and he is one of the 2 young people in the Soul Clan who are most likely to become the next leader of the Soul Clan." Hearing this, Xiao Yan's heart suddenly moved, and then he looked along Suner's line of sight. Where his gaze reached, there stood a man in black clothes. When Xiao Yan was looking at him, he also seemed to have noticed something, turned his head and looked at Xiao Yan with a smile. For this smile that seemed to represent goodwill, Xiao Yan's eyes narrowed, then turned his head and said softly, "A very dangerous guy. This person is called Hanyu. According to the information we have, he has the divine blood of the Soul Clan." Suner's voice was rarely solemn. Xiao Yan said, "It seems that this man named Hanyu is really not easy to deal with." Gu Qingyang added, "This Hanyu is different from other people in the Soul Clan, not just talking about robbing the soul. This guy seems friendly, but is very sinister at heart." Hearing this, Xiao Yan nodded slowly, and in his heart, he had already classified this Hanyu as a dangerous person. Then he looked around and asked, "Are we going to prepare to rush into the beast tide again this time?" "Yes, when the people here are integrated, we will rush in together again." Suner nodded in response, "Then let's gather our people together. The more people, the safer." Hearing this, Xiao Yan also nodded gently. Just about to speak, a light drink suddenly sounded on the square. He looked towards the source of the sound, and it was the man named Hanyu. Hanyu said, "Everyone, the current situation should be clear to all of us. Our goal is the Bodhi ancient tree in the depths of the ancient wild domain. As for whether there will be disagreements after arriving there, it's too far away for us. Because no single force can break through the beast tide now, and our only chance is for everyone to join hands. With the strength of all of us, we may be able to tear that defense line. Otherwise, the Bodhi ancient tree will be hopeless. Of course, if someone thinks it's not credible, they can stay here. I won't force it. But in this way, I'm afraid you will return empty-handed." Hearing Hanyu's words, the surroundings were silent for a while. After a while, people began to nod one after another. When some people started to be tempted, the colored pupil man of the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan said, "Brother Hanyu is right. This time the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan will go with you." "Hee, thank you for your support, Brother Jufeng." Hanyu smiled and thanked the colored pupil man with a gesture. "You're right. Staying here will get nothing. It's better to take a chance together." The words of the colored pupil man obviously moved many people, and immediately many people agreed. That guy doesn't seem to be easy to deal with either. Xiao Yan glanced at the colored pupil man and said, "Hee, that's Jufeng, who has been confirmed as the next leader of the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan, and his colored pupils are caused by his cultivation method." Gu Qingyang responded. Hearing this, Xiao Yan nodded slightly. No wonder he has a high status in the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan. It turns out that he has been confirmed as the next leader. Seeing that most people agreed to join hands to break through the beast tide, Han Yu also smiled slightly, then said, "Since everyone has no objections, let's set off now. We are also ready to set off. When breaking through the beast tide later, everyone should be careful. Even if we all gather together, the people who can successfully break through will not reach 1/10. Sooner said softly. Hearing this, Xiao Yan's heart also trembled. There are at least hundreds of Dozun strong people here, and there are a lot of strong people. Such a strong lineup can't break through the beast tide. What kind of beast tide is it? When Xiao Yan was shocked by the horror of the beast tide, the people on the square began to take action. Let's go.